This lesson was created with a class in mind that has a very broad range of students and uses technology to help the teacher lessen that gap. Students ranging from gifted and talented to students with disabilities that severely impact their learning to students with hearing and vision impairments. Mixed in with those special needs students are students with ability levels ranging from very low to very high achieving and include everything in between. This tutorial has been created to help the teacher know how to implement each activity, how to use any needed technology, and how each accommodation is intended to benefit each student. Each lesson is designed to present just the bare minimum information. In this lesson, we will be looking at taxation without representation. Only the most significant events and concepts will be presented in the notes and in the PowerPoint. As the student listens to the PowerPoint, he will get more information. The stuff that makes it more interesting, like that signing the Declaration of Independence is like going home and saying to your parents, I am no longer a part of this family. And while that's all good and fine, then you're going to have to deal with your mother throwing herself into the door and saying, over your dead body, which is pretty much what the king said to the colonists. Hopefully those things will help the student understand more about what was happening at that particular time in history. The notes that we have provided follow the PowerPoint, but have some of the words omitted. This is intended to keep the student involved in the lesson. It's much harder to be distracted when you have to write something specific every few seconds. We created both the notes and the assessments in a Word document so that the visually impaired student will have the option of using Word's Speak tool. The image you see now gives step-by-step instructions on how to turn the Speak tool on for them. Once their computer is properly set up, you will be able to highlight the page and the Speak tool will read the text to them. Because the narration for each slide provides more information than is provided in the text, we have had the narration translated into sign language, and there's an insert at the bottom of the PowerPoint screen to provide that same benefit to the hearing impaired student. Also, each slide in the PowerPoint has a picture that may help them to comprehend the information being presented on that slide and give the student one more way to associate the concept being presented. In this example, the students see British soldiers searching someone's home, which will reinforce that writs of assistance allowed officers to search anywhere they wanted for smuggled goods. As we take another look at the notes, you will notice there are boxes along the edge in each section. The student will use their stylus to draw an illustration of that concept or event. We've even provided a picture. Of course, if the student is creative and would like to make their own, they're welcome to. However, it should never take more than 30 seconds to illustrate a concept. Some students may even need to go to the PowerPoint and copy and paste the picture directly into their notes if they are not able to draw or they have a disability with their hand. And then after the student finishes the notes, there's an assessment that goes along with it. The questions always go in order with the notes as they are intended to reinforce the pertinent information, not to trick or frustrate the student. The GT students have questions that are more open-ended and require more than a one-word answer. When they have finished the assessment, they are encouraged to go to the internet and find more information on the day's topic. They can write about taxation without representation on their blogs. They could create a PowerPoint. They could design some other project that would reinforce or add to the concept for the day. The regular ed students have more of a fill-in-the-blank style assessment. This gives them a little more guidance and a little more structure in the questions. We suggest they start by reading the first question, then go back to the notes and begin reading at the top of the page. When they find that answer, read the second question, and then go back to the notes, and so on. This does two things. It teaches them how to find the answer in a more efficient way than scanning the notes for the answer, and it forces them to review everything that has been discussed that day. That brings us to the next day. We have devised a way for the low-performing student, the student who never seems to get their assignment finished, to avoid yet another zero. We do this by giving a quiz at the beginning of class the next day. The quiz never has more than 10 questions, and the questions come straight from the assessment. The daily quiz grade can be taken as an entire grade for the assignment or could be averaged with the assessment. We suggest allowing regular ed, low performers, and low achieving students to use the assessment if they completed it when taking the daily quiz, thus encouraging low performing students to complete the assignment. At the same time, in order to help our students with disabilities that prevent them from learning as easily as others, we have color-coded versions of the notes. This is when individual computers or a color printer is a must. We suggest putting the assignments into the LMS system and allowing only students within a certain learning group to have access to that material. For instance, give pre-AP and regular students access to the regular notes, but only give special ed students access to the color-coded version. That way, nobody ever knows that anyone else has a version different than they downloaded, and it just seems to equal the playing field. We have also provided a color-coded version of the notes with all of the blanks filled in for those students whose IEPs require a hard copy of the notes. It may not be a paper copy, but it is a completed copy. The students with learning disabilities will follow along with the PowerPoint and fill in the notes just like everyone else. However, their assessment is also color-coded and will help them know where to locate the answer in the reading. This will give them a better chance of being successful on the assessment and encourage them when they are able to work more independently. You might also show them how to use the Speak tool in Word. You will also notice that the color-coded assessment has some questions circled. The circled questions are for students who require reduced assignments. They should start with the circles and then go back and complete the rest if they have time. In order to give the students with reduced assignments a fair chance for the daily quiz, it just happens that the circled questions on their color-coded assessment are the questions on the daily quiz. Of course, there is always the option of having the students submit the assessment instead of doing the quiz, or of using the assessment for bonus points if the student does not do well on the quiz. Just to review, we have notes that follow the PowerPoint with blanks to be filled in and illustrations to be drawn by the students in order to keep them engaged. The notes are in Word so that the visually impaired students can use the Speak tool available in Word. The PowerPoint covers the most basic information with signing for the hearing impaired available because the PowerPoint narration adds meat to the notes. Assessments with open-ended questions to encourage higher-level thinking are available for pre-AP GT students, and questions with fill-in-the-blank, more of a fill-in-the-blank style, are available for regular ed students. There are color-coded notes and assessments for low-achieving and ESL students that will enable them to be more successful when working independently. There is also a daily quiz that is to be given the next day and has questions that come directly from the assessment. This allows the low-performing student who always forgets to do their assignment the opportunity to avoid a 0. And last but not least, the color-coded assessments have questions circled for students who require reduced assignments. The circled questions tie to the questions on the daily quiz so that even a student who is required by their IEP to have fewer questions can still be successful on the daily quiz.